Hey, Pajama Bosses. Welcome back to Pajama Bosses TV. In this episode, I'm about to share with you the 3 pivots that we all need to be making within our businesses to stay current and continue to produce results. So let's have a look. Hey there, and welcome back for another episode of Pyjama Bosses TV. In this episode, I want to have a close and personal conversation with you in terms of how network marketing is changing. It is no news to anyone that the world has almost entirely transformed in the last 12 months. And guess what? Not only that, it's almost happened as if it was happening overnight. Literally in front of our eyes, everything is changing. So the way we do our business has to evolve and has to change. And in this episode, I want to share with you the 3 different areas how you can pivot really successfully within the strategy that you're taking in your network marketing businesses so that you can create more results. So let's have a look. I'm going to share my screen right here and we're going to get started. So we're going to talk about the 3 different pivots that you need to be making in your business right now. The first one is all to do with your message. Message is such an important thing. You know, it's everything when we are prospecting and recruiting. In fact, when we talk about network marketing part of the business is really the prospecting and recruiting. And this is where your message is of the core importance. So what is your message? Well, it is definitely what you say to your prospects, but it's more about what is the subliminal message behind what you're saying to your prospects. So just 6 months ago, truly, we didn't really have a different way of prospecting, probably for the previous few years. But as the world has transformed through this pandemic and many things have been happening, we really need to enter the prospects conversation and meet them where they're at. And so we need to enter the conversation that's already going on in their head. And the conversation has absolutely changed. Now, I'm talking about the conversation that the prospect is actually having with themselves. And the conversation they're having right now is unfortunately very different to what it was 6 months ago. Many people are right now struggling to keep their jobs. Many people are struggling to know what their future will be. It's extremely uncertain. So all these question marks in their head, it actually needs to reflect on how we actually approach our prospects and what is the message that we give them. So if somebody is, for example, already wondering, what is my future going to look like? So they have this sense of uncertainty and they're obviously scrambling to know whether they have a job or they've just recently lost their job and they're looking for a way to create an income, then this is where you want to meet them. And so it's not about, how you want to improve your lifestyle and how you want to create a residual stream of income. Those messages were all kind of timeless and it worked 6 months ago, but right now there's almost like an urgent message. If you want to have, a similar way of looking at it, and this is nothing to do, by the way, with the actual products and the type of services that you may be distributing in your network marketing business. But what we were doing 6 months ago is more like giving a vitamin to people, meaning we were improving their life and preventing what may happen. But as the world has transformed, there's become an urgency around actually giving a solution to people. So our message needs to actually reflect something like a painkiller, an actual solution to the challenge they're having. Right now, if they're having a headache, they're looking for a painkiller. So think about that synonym and how you're actually approaching your prospects right now. Are you still using the same language that you used a year ago? Because that same language is not actually entering the conversation that your prospect is having in their head. And therefore, the message has to change. And the message changes, and the one thing that is really important is about having the urgency, around understanding where the prospects are at. Understanding what type of struggles they're going through and actually giving them an urgent pointer, an urgent solution. So it's not about, turning into salespeople, saleswomen or salesmen and just saying, hey, I know you're struggling for money and I have a solution and here's the business. No, we don't want to do that. We still want to make sure that our relationship is at the forefront of actually what we're doing with the prospect. And we want to do the right thing for them, because I truly believe if you always think long-term, you're going to have the best result long-term, right? That just makes sense. So at the same time, you need to have an urgency around how you talk to them. And it's not just saying, look, I'm in a real hurry, I'm sponsoring a lot of people, this business is booming and all of that. That's a great message 6 months ago. Right now, the message may be, you know, in the next month, I want to help another 10 people to transition from, you know, perhaps working in their job to now working at home, or perhaps replacing the income that they've lost to working from home. You know, there has to be an urgent message of around what is this business actually going to do for them that needs them in the conversation that's in their hand. So a message of urgency. We talked about the currency, you know, being really current, right? The message needs to be really current in terms of what's already happening in their head. And what really needs to reflect is that you have a long-term solution. Now, why is this really important? Just think for a second. All of our prospects are going through an amazing time of uncertainty and completely, you know, so many changes, so many transformations. So you want to make sure that the message you're having and the way you're approaching people shows stability and longevity. And the reason for that is you're going to give actual confidence to the person that you're approaching if you have messages of longevity and stability, that this is actually something that is going to be their pillar, you know, in this uncertain world that they're living. So it's really important to understand that urgency, currency, and of course, we want to also have the longevity, that stability message for the people as well. Now, that's number one. So the way you're talking to people, the way you're approaching them, what you're saying them, the actual message has now changed. And if you're still using the same words you're using a year ago, you're now outdated, and most probably people are not really following you. So that's number one. Number two is your inception. So the inception, I'm going to explain what that is. Inception is the actual process where a prospect is going through the either onboarding process or the actual, you know, information process of receiving information from you about the company, the products, the services, the business. And through this process of receiving the information, they may have an inception. An inception is just basically create an idea or belief. And it really, I just take that name from the movie Inception, which was really about inserting ideas into people's minds without them realizing it. And so, you know, the inception, the way we incept ideas into people's minds has completely changed. So, you know, a long time ago when we were still prospecting, and I'm going back, you know, 15 years ago, that may or may not be a long time for you, depending how long you've been in network marketing, but that's when we started, you know, in network marketing profession. And 15 years ago, you know, the inception of saying something to people like, don't worry, there's a proven step-by-step system you can follow, and we're going to help you be there all the time. So just, you know, you just need to be teachable, willing to take action, and have the ambition to achieve. That is a message that is 15 years old, or that at least 15 years ago absolutely worked. Now, what has worked a year ago is absolutely different. And now what's working right now has completely changed in the last 6 months again. So why do we even want to create the inception? It is actually the core of duplication. So let's write that down. It's actually the core of duplication. So if you can get a prospect to have an inception of the idea that they can do this business through the process of sharing information with them, that is the first step of you creating duplication. Because in the end, it's not about signing them up. It's actually about them believing that they can do it so that they take action. So how do we create this inception in the modern time? In this, you know, very uncertain time that we're going through? I believe the best way to create an inception is to actually show them the process and immerse them in the process. So without you saying, hey, don't worry, we have a system, we have technology. Oh yeah, we work on social media. Do you want to make money on Instagram? Those messages maybe worked 6 months ago. But right now, people are looking for certainty, longevity, stability, and you need much more than just words. In fact, what you need to do is you need to immerse people into a process, you know, step by step. You need to just get them to follow a process when they're first looking at the information. And, you know, there's several ways of doing that. We certainly teach our students, tens of thousands of our students, of doing that with our My Duplicator software that has specific tools like online marketing funnels, contacts management system, and many things. And what happens is that the prospect experiences, the information giving, the follow-up, the everything from the actual technology as well as you doing it. So the inception then becomes that they can do this because they actually see the process and the system in action. And I think that's really important. So if you're not creating inceptions for people in the modern way, in the new way, I also think you may have challenges in the future. So that's really, really important. Now, number 3 is then, of course, events. Events. This is really something so important. We really have to remember that for now, we need to make sure that we have absolutely 2 parallel ways of being able to present, of being able to get our prospects and our team members to experience the business. So I'm drawing these 2 wiggly lines, which are meant to represent parallel ways of doing things. Obviously, there could be an online way, and hopefully we can still rely on offline way, but I certainly right now would not just have offline events. Miguel and I are the first ones that until 6 months ago insisted that there is some type of an offline event in the ascension ladder of your event structure. Now that's a big word. I'm just going to draw it here. This is the actual staircase, the ladder of events, and 6 months ago I would have said one of these events right here, 5 or 6 steps of events, if nothing else, the company convention here on a yearly basis needs to be offline. Offline events are so important, and they build certain stickability in the business. But times are changing. In fact, they've almost changed like overnight. And so you need to have a specific online and offline ladder of ascension of your events. Now, I know you understand that. I know you're probably using Zoom night and day. You're using it. But the key here becomes is how can you do it effectively? How many events should you have? And how do you drive momentum from one event to the other? For example, the pillars of our businesses are the monthly training events where we actually create momentum and we drive momentum from one event to the other. How are you doing this right now in the current situation is extremely important. So, not just basically turning up on Zoom, but how are you making sure that the new prospects, the new team members, everyone's engaging and building towards those events and actually paying attention in those events. Getting people to events is one thing. And the skill of getting somebody to an online or offline event is pretty similar. But the skill of engaging someone in an online versus an offline event, it is so different. So you need to have novel ideas of how you do that. Obviously you can use technology, but at the same time, you need to have tools and training and coaching tools available so that as you are going through the online event, people can fall back and actually see it on their own screen so they can actually test it and so on. So I think it's really important that you have some fallback mechanism of automation as well. So I'm just going to put it there, automation as well. So really, really important. So these are the 3 major pivots. Obviously, you have to have an online structure of events. I think the way you actually show people that this business works and give them an inception has to be completely different. And most importantly, what I started with, your message has to be completely different. Now, for Miguel and I, we've been doing this, network marketing, for the last 15 or so years. And for the last probably more than 10 years, what we've really focused ourselves on is, the science of creating behavior in network marketing, the science of getting people to do stuff. One of the most common challenges that we all have is not getting people to do enough stuff, right? How can I get my team to take more action? How can I just get, my 2 team members to prospect a little more, right? Have you ever felt like that? And when I think about these 3 pivots, what I've talked about today, it is exactly, and it starts with a prospect, it is exactly designed so that your team engages more and takes more action. And in a sense, that is the pillar of the one and only duplication right here. Duplication is the core of everything. And if we don't have it in mind when we're thinking of how to do things in our network marketing business, then things just won't work. So with that in mind, I hope you had a lot of value from this. And what I really suggest is you go ahead and implement some of these things right now in your business. Watching a video is great. Maybe you're entertained, maybe inspired, motivated. But what really matters is that you implement something and you change something the way you do it. So that's what I invite you to do today. So that's everything for today. I hope you really enjoyed it. I will see you again for the next Pyjama Bosses episode. Now, a lot of people ask me, Masha, how do I actually find out what you actually teach right now? Well, if you don't already know, we have a program. It's called Six Figure Circle. And below this video, there should be a link, a button where you can click and actually watch a free demo video of what we teach and how we do it and how we use software and technology for automation so that our students are still throughout this amazingly insecure time, uncertain time, getting the best results ever. So hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you again for the next video.